Let's talk about something that is often overlooked, but absolutely mission critical if you want to run a high performing, resilient operation. Master data cleansing. Now, I know that doesn't sound exciting. And in most projects we're on, scrubbing the data is either not started or projected to be 0 day on new technology rollouts where the data will be cleansed over time. And when I say over time, I usually mean months, if not years, right? It's a chore. Behind every efficient workflow, accurate forecast, and confident decisions, there's clean, trusted, reliable data holding it all together. And if you've ever had an incorrect shipping address, delay a delivery, or discover three different versions of the same customer in your CRM, or caught a pricing error after it hit an invoice, then you've already experienced firsthand the cost of dirty data. Okay. And the cost of dirty data. And trust me, those costs add up fast. In today's connected digital first environment, data is the lifeblood of every single department, every team, every decision, and every customer interaction. Sales, they need up-to-date contacts. Operations, they rely on accurate inventory and logistical data. Finance, they can't afford errors in pricing or vendor terms. And in leadership, they're making strategic decisions based on dashboards, forecasts, and reports that hopefully pull from accurate data. But here's the challenge: most companies have more data than ever before and less control over its quality. Between rapid scaling, system migrations, disconnected tools, and decentralized teams, it's easier than ever for errors, duplications, and outdated records to creep in. And those are just small inconsistencies. They become major inefficiencies over time. So, what's really the problem with messy master data? Let me give you a few scenarios. Let me give you a few scenarios. A national retailer launches a marketing campaign, but half of their customer emails bounce. Why? The database hasn't been why? The database hasn't been scrubbed in 2 years. A logistics firm ships a high value item to a customer's old address because their shipping system isn't synchronous. A logistics firm ships a high value item to a customer's old address because their shipping system isn't syncing with their CRM. And a manufacturer delays production for weeks because a vendor's banking information wasn't a manufacturer delays production for a week because a vendor's banking information was never updated. Payment failed and materials didn't ship. These aren't theoretical. These are real life operational nightmares. And the root cause isn't always the system. It's not always the employee, it's the data and the company's lack of plan to manage it. Here's where it can get serious. According to Gardner, poor data quality can cost organizations an average of $12.9 million dollars a year. That's productivity lost, that's missed revenue, and that's reputation damage. Now, let's step out of the numbers for a moment and let's talk about the people behind that data. Because data doesn't live in a vacuum, it impacts your teams. Think about the customer service agent trying to calm an angry customer whose package was sent to the wrong state, or a sales team whose or a sales rep lost a deal because their contact information was outdated, or a finance analyst pulling an all-nighter to manually reconcile mismatched records before the quarterly close. This is where data cleansing becomes more than an operational hygiene. It becomes a cultural shift. It's about giving your people the tools, the trust, and the time to do their best work, not just fix bad data. It's about creating an environment where accuracy is the norm, not a consistent uphill battle. And let's be honest, no one wants to come to work every day fixing yesterday's problems. So, what's the turning point? It actually starts where someone in the organization, often someone like you, asks the right questions. What if we stopped reacting to data issues and started preventing them? That mindset shift from reactive to proactive is very powerful. And that's where master data cleansing becomes a strategic asset. So let's break this down. What exactly is master data cleansing? It's actually a systematic process of identifying, correcting, and removing things like inaccurate data, duplicate records, outdated information, inconsistent formatting, and invalid or in or compliant entries. In short, it's about removing the noise so that you can trust what's left. It's about removing the noise so you can trust what's left. It's not just cleaning up a spreadsheet, it's rebuilding the foundation that supports your reporting, your forecasting, and your compliance, and your customer's experience, frankly. So, what does it look like? Let's look at a few before and after scenarios, okay? A shipping address with missing postal codes becomes standardized across systems, reducing failed deliveries by 30%. A vendor master records are merged, eliminating redundant payment accounts and cutting invoice processing time in half. Customer records include consistent naming conventions, so reports stop splitting revenue into IBM Corp versus IBM Corporation. A pricing file is updated quarterly, so sales stop quoting out. A pricing file is updated quarterly, so the sales team stops quoting outdated prices, reducing the need for credit memos and rework. Clean data removes friction. It actually streamlines everything. So the question really is, how often should we be cleansing our data? Now, that could be $1 million question. So how often should you be doing this? The short answer is way more often than most companies are doing it now. Let's go industry by industry for a moment, okay? E-commerce, retail, and finance. High transaction volumes, frequent customer updates, real-time data needs. You should be auditing and cleansing monthly or even weekly in some cases. It depends on your software, your systems, your people, your training, okay? And yes, I know that that sounds like a lot, and it may be if you don't have standardized processes for entering data. And yes, I know that sounds like a lot of work, and it may be if you don't have standardized processes for entering data in the first place. Now, healthcare, banking, and insurance, those are regulated industries with strict compliance needs. So, continuous monitoring and validation should be baked into your processes. Okay? Manufacturing and logistics, supplier data, part numbers, routing codes change constantly. At a minimum, perform a quarterly cleanse. Okay. Professional services, consulting, or slower moving sectors, a biannual or an annual cleanse might be enough if your data intake is low and controlled. But here's the catch: even if your data isn't fast moving, neglect adds up, and it adds up over time. Outdated or inaccurate records left unchecked can still cause massive damage months down the line. So let's go over a step by step process on how to start. Okay. Here is a simple, scalable framework to kick things off. The first here is perform a data audit. What data do you have? Where is it stored? Who owns it? And look for duplications, inconsistencies, and completeness gaps. Okay. The second one here is define your data governance rules. Establish naming conventions, okay, formats, required fields, and approval flows. Assign data ownership. Who is responsible for what? The third thing here is you want to automate where possible. Use tools that identify duplicates, validate addresses, and enforce formatting in real time. Let automate the repetitive errors so your team can focus on bigger priorities. The fourth thing here is you want to cleanse your existing data. Merge any duplicates, remove stale records, and correct any errors. This may be actually a big lift initially, but the ROI is pretty significant. The fifth thing here is you want to create and maintain some kind of a cadence, okay? Decide how often you'll cleanse different data types. Align a schedule with business cycles, quarter ends, budget planning, seasonal spikes, things like that. And the last thing here is you'll want to train your team because every person who touches your data, whether that be sales, support, operations, they all need to understand their role. Make training part of the onboarding process and continuous learning. So once the data cleanse becomes a routine, something more powerful happens. Your organization starts operating with clarity. You stop questioning numbers in your dashboards, you stop backtracking and firefighting, your team becomes strategic, not reactive, and you're able to move faster, respond to opportunities quicker, and to recover from disruptions with greater ease. Also, your customers, they will notice. They experience a smoother onboarding, more accurate communications, and fewer mistakes. In other words, clean data isn't just about IT, it's about your customer experience as well, employee satisfaction, and your business growth. So, if you're tired of being surprised by data issues, if your team is constantly cleaning up avoidable mistakes, if your systems don't speak the same language, it's time to start a master data cleansing conversation. Now, start small, run an audit, create a rule book, educate your team because your data isn't just behind the scenes anymore. It is the scene. And if it's not accurate, complete, and clean, you're building a business on shaky ground. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.